Hello, my friends. Stephen Duncan, aka Perlo Wisdom here. NHL season is coming up. Well, it's in about a month or so, but I've got future picks for you. Also, I already did one on LA. Go on the YouTube channel, and of course, this is through Tony's Picks, one of the finest in the land, right? So I'm going to be looking at first for futures who could make the playoffs and who will not make the playoffs. And we'll try to find ourselves some plus money plays. Before I do, though, I have today put up a early bird special that I'll have up for about 2, maybe 3 weeks, depending on how popular it is. Usually it's pretty popular. You can get the whole NHL season of mine for $250. That's it. It's like peanuts, man. But I like to, there's a lot of people that have supported me for a long time. And if people support me for a long time, then I like to give them really good deals because you deserve it. You deserve it for your support. It's going to go much higher than that at the end of the 2-3 weeks. So I'd highly recommend you get in right now where the last 3 years. Now, when I tell you this, you have to realize that I bet a lot more than 1 unit on a lot of plays. I do 7 units, 5 units occasionally, even the odd 10 unit play, if it's like a play of the year. So take that into account. I'm up over 1,077 units for the past 3 years. Now, if you take that on 1 unit plays, or maybe 2 every once in a while or something like that, or half a units and stuff, you take that down probably about 5 times. So 500 units over the last 3 years if you do it that way. So highly recommend you get in. This is going to be an exciting season. There's a lot of parity in the league, and by parity I mean there's a lot of teams that got better, and there's a lot of good teams that got worse. I mean, a lot of bad teams that got much better, and a lot of good teams that got worse. There was a lot of parity last year, so you're going to get a lot of plus money plays because I'm going to be betting a lot of dogs this year. All right, let's get into it. We're going to be looking at the Utah, whatever they're called, right now Hockey Club, HC. I'm hearing that they're going to keep it with Hockey Club. For some reason, I don't mind that. It's different. And it's classic. It's like the Hockey Club. And maybe a lot of that has to do with the fact that Utah is just getting into, or they're building a fan base. They tell them what it is. It's a hockey club. You're watching hockey, my friends. Okay, let me get over to, some of the reasons I'm looking at Utah. And I'm looking at Utah to make the playoffs at plus 175. And here are some of the reasons why. First of all, last year, their biggest issue, by far, no doubt about it, was their defense. They had a lot of guys that were really shouldn't have been there. They didn't have very good defensive defensemen at all. And this year, they go out and trade for Mikhail Sergachev, and they removed themselves of Moser, who was just absolutely horrible. I really don't understand why Tampa Bay wanted him, but hey, there you go, take it. And Sergachev is a really good offensive defenseman and pretty average defensive defenseman. His defensive analytics for how good of an offensive player he is actually really good. There's not too many guys that can put up 40 to 70 points in a season and also be very good defensively as well. So I thought this was an excellent pickup. He's going to be their top, their number 1 defenseman. You go out and get a number 1 defenseman. That is not easy to do. It's not easy to trade for a number 1 defenseman, and they pulled it off. They have him here playing with Sean Durzi. I'm not so sure. Actually, I could see that. Sean Durzi, he's got a lot of work to do defensively. I think this might be the perfect mentor for him, to tell you the honest truth. He's just learning the ropes on how to balance being an offensive defenseman and also being able to take care of the defensive awareness all over the ice. And that's what Sergachev is really good at. A lot of people think, well, defensive defenseman is just what you do in your own zone, blocking shots and stuff. I don't agree with that. And most coaches don't either. Playing defensively is what you do when you take risks in the offensive zone, how aggressive you are in the neutral zone, and when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive, and all of that. And Sergachev's really good at that. Jersey needs a lot of work in that area, and I think he's going to get a lot of help here with Sergachev by his side. The second pairing, Juuso Välimäki, one of the most underrated defensive defensemen in the league. Actually, he was their lone bright spot last year in that regard. And then they go and get John Marino from New Jersey. I believe it was a free agent signing. Or did he trade? Was it a trade? Oh, it doesn't matter. They got him. They got him, and he is a very good defensive defenseman. Last year, he kind of dipped a little bit, honestly. It wasn't his best year, but every other year before that, he's been a rock defensively. So I'm going to stick with the fact that he can come back and get back to where he was before. He's got nobody chasing him on his role. In New Jersey, he had a lot of heat coming up with young players, and I think he knew he was going to be replaced. So I think that maybe weighed on him a little bit. Here he has no problems with that. He has his spot. It's his. There's nobody going to be taking that for a while. So I think he'll play a lot more confident. And they got a great coach there, too, as well, that can help them in that regard as well. Then they get Ian Cole from the Vancouver Canucks. A great 5'6" defensive defenseman. Bounces around quite a bit, mostly because he's getting up there in age, and a lot of teams, they have young players that are coming up and they got to give him ice time, and he ends up having to move on. But everywhere he goes, he does extremely well defensively. And Michael Kesserling, who they scooped up from Edmonton 2 years ago, and he has really blossomed into a very good two-way defenseman. So all of a sudden they went from having a bad defense to a pretty darn good one. I would say above average, like not bad at all. So you add to that, you go to their forwards now. They didn't really add anybody to their forward group, and they didn't really have to, because you have Clayton Keller, who is absolutely fantastic and due to break out even more. I think this could be Clayton Keller's year, to tell you the honest truth. I could see him potting 50. So you got that kind of offense. He's just dynamic, and he's a fantastic player. Barrett Hayton in the middle. This is where they got a little bit of a weakness, I have to admit. Depending on this, Barrett Hayton is a very good defensive center. He's offense. He doesn't drive offense. He's not going to put up huge points, but he's a very good, borderline elite, actually, and he's heading that direction. He's only 23 years old. So he's got a lot of room to grow. The problem is he's been injured a lot, and that has been the biggest problem. So if he can stay healthy, I don't mind him in this spot, because you're playing also with Nick Schmaltz on the right side, who's just an absolute wizard with the stick. Great playmaker. Fantastic at taking pucks off people's sticks and stuff like that. He's usually about a 60-point guy, somewhere around there, and it's steady, it's consistent. It's every single year he puts up those kind of numbers. So really good first line. Next on the second line, you got Lawson Crouse, 40-point guy again, and all of these players, like Nick Schmaltz as well, are very good defensively as well. And that, if you look at a team like the Florida Panthers, who just won the Cup, they have one of the best top 12 two-way forwards that I've seen since like back in the Detroit days, before the cap. And it looks like that's what they're building here in Arizona, which bodes well, because in this league today, I think it's necessary that you have players like that. You have teams like the Rangers, who people always end up picking them to win a cup and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, man, they don't have enough two-way guys to win a cup. That's the reason why they don't win a cup. They don't have enough two-way forwards. You got to have. It's best to have as many as you can possibly get. Next, in the middle of this second line, you have Logan Cooley, and this is the big X factor for me for Arizona. He is looking like he's going to be very good, but he is so young yet. Last year they protected him; they kept him down in the third lines, and didn't overexpose him, which is a really good thing to do, because young players. First of all, one of the things that happens if you Logan Cooley could have moved up the lineup and probably put up good numbers. However, this year everybody would know who he was. How many times do you see that like look at Thompson in Buffalo has a breakout year, and the next year he can't do anything because everybody's looking out for him. I don't think people are going to be totally looking out for Logan Cooley this year. I think they'll put him on the second line. I don't know how his minutes will be. It'll all depend on him. It depends on what kind of how much bulk he gets too. He's a small guy. If he's bulked up through the off season here, and body maturation and all that kind of stuff like that. But not bad. He's probably going to be a number one center eventually. If it happens to happen this year, fantastic. Then I'm really looking at Utah to make the playoffs. And then Dylan Guenther, he's going to go off this year. I'm telling you right now, he's going to go off this year. This kid is freaking fast. He's one of the smartest players I've seen in quite a while, especially as a winger. He's going to go off. So you got really good really good, solid two lines. It's not elite. It's not the best. I mean, there's teams out there with better for sure, no doubt about it. But it's pretty solid. It's pretty young, but it's pretty solid, and I think they're building towards having a really good lineup, and it could happen this year. Third line, Matias Maccelli, fantastic playmaker, good defensively. Again, there's another one. It's like you have to be good two-way guy to be in Arizona. Armstrong is a smart general manager, man. He knows that this is the way the league is going. Obviously, you see that with Florida. You saw that with Tampa Bay when they won their cups. Like, you have to be a good two-way. You have to have good two-way forwards. Nick Bjugstad, fantastic defensive center. Like, not elite, but he's good. He's really good. He's not going to put too many points up, but in that shutdown spot, he's like 6'5" or something like that. He's a big boy, big tough guy that can handle a lot of the big centers out there. So I like him. Josh Doan, he could go off. He looked, when he came, that was his rookie year last year. By the way, you could look at possibly Josh Doan as being a Calder contender. When they put him in the lineup last year, I was like, oh, wow, right away you're going to put Josh Doan in there? The guy didn't look like out of place at all. Like, if you didn't know he was a rookie, I swear to God, you would have thought he was a veteran that's been playing for 5 years. So he could go off this year. And then you have Kerfoot, McBain, Stenlund. It's a fine fourth line. It's nothing spectacular, but it's good. That is a lineup that I think has a really good chance of making the playoffs. The only thing I will say is their overall depth, their replacement players, leave a little bit to be desired. So if you have injuries, quite a few injuries this year, I mean, that can happen to any team, but their replacement players aren't that great. Most of them are not ready yet. They're a little too young to be playing in the NHL. And the veteran guys that they have in the AHL have never been able to hold up. So it's going to be tough that way. But if they can stay away from the injury bug, I think they got a really good chance. Now, I'll go over... Here's the other reason. By the way, you're getting plus 175 on this play. So it's not too shabby. Let's look at their division and the conference that they're in. Chicago Blackhawks got better this year. So that's going to be, but they're nowhere near as good as Utah. They're better, but they're still going to be probably bottom of the league. Colorado Avalanche, without Nichushkin, this team is not the same. And honestly, I'll get into this when I do my previews for each team, which I'll be doing over the course of the next 2 weeks. I'm not really a big fan of their defense. They have a great top two, and besides that, it's kind of not that great this year. So I'm not saying that Colorado's going to miss the playoffs, but I think they're beatable, more beatable than last year. Dallas Stars, same thing. They had to go out and get Dumba after they lost Tanev. Dumba's ass, and he's going to be playing in their top four. So they also lost Hakanpää. I love that guy's name. They lost Hakanpää as well, who's a good solid 5'6", and I don't really see that much for replacement. They might find something. I'm sure they'll make some trades throughout the year and make themselves better. But they're more beatable than they were last year, as far as I'm concerned, with that defense. Minnesota Wild, just a middle-of-the-road team, and they still will be this year. They haven't been able to replace, again, their defense is not that great. It's not. And they're beatable. They're beatable. Are they more beatable than last year? It's probably about the same, but they weren't that great last year. Nashville did improve, of course. They got Stamkos, they got Marcia, so that's going to be a little tougher out. But overall, and then the Winnipeg Jets, they lost DeMello, they lost Dylan, and really the replacements for them haven't shown to be very good. Heinola has been stewing in the minors for a while. When he gets a shot, he might end up being better than I thought, but overall, I don't think this team is very good. And then they got Nikolai Ehlers left. Who else left? Everybody's leaving Winnipeg. And I don't think they're making the playoffs this year. So Utah can beat them, certainly more than they could last year. So they're beatable. Over in the other division, I won't go through all the teams, but I only see 3 teams making the playoffs next year out of this division. And that's Vancouver, Vegas, and Edmonton. So you're going to have 5 spots in 3 in the Pacific and 5 spots in the Central, if I'm accurate on this. Of those 5 spots, you think Utah could get it? I say Colorado makes it, Dallas makes it, probably Nashville makes it, and maybe Minnesota Wild, and I say Utah. I don't think the St. Louis Blues, I forgot to mention that, they're going to be ass this year. Absolute ass. I could see the St. Louis Blues being bottom 5 in the league. So they're worse than they were last year. So again, Utah is beatable. I see Utah as a very good possibility of making it in. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll take your bet for 175 and wait till the end of the year to see if we're right. Head over to Tony's Picks, get my NHL package. Also, I do baseball as well. Doing not too bad in baseball this year. And I'll be doing basketball. I'm going to have an NFL package. See you over there. Go get yourself 15% off with Tony T. Promo code Tony T on any package that I put up or any of the other cappers put up. We have great cappers, some of the best cappers in North America at Tony T. So go check it out. Have a great day, everybody. Okay, bye.